Good evening, my little creatures of the night. Mr. Wendigo back again with your late night creature feature. Before we begin, I'm curious. Where are you listening from tonight? Alone in your room? Driving through empty roads? Drop a comment and let me know. I like knowing who's out there in the dark with me. Now then, let's see what tonight's tale brings us. Below 80 feet. The lake house smelled like dust and regret. I stood in the doorway with a box of my uncle's old paperwork under one arm, watching dust motes drift through the afternoon light. Rachel was still in the car, on the phone with her sister, probably complaining about the 4-hour drive from Houston. I didn't blame her. The roads out here were the kind that made your GPS give up and display a shrug emoji. Uncle Buddy had been dead for 3 months before anyone found him. Heart attack in his sleep, the coroner said. Peaceful way to go. He'd been out here alone since Aunt Linda passed in 2019, and I guess he'd stopped answering his phone so often that nobody noticed when he stopped answering permanently. The house was mine now, his only living relative. Lucky me. I set the box on the kitchen counter and looked around. Wood paneling on every wall. Carpet that had been ugly in 1982 and hadn't improved with age. A mounted largemouth bass above the fireplace with a plaque that read, Lake Morrow, 14 pounds, 6 ounces, June 1991. Through the back window, I could see the docks stretching out over the water. The lake was calm, reflecting the pine trees that ringed its shores. Peaceful, quiet. The kind of place people retire to when they want to disappear from the world. I'd spent 2 weeks here as a kid, 12 years old, bored out of my mind. No internet, no cable, just my uncle teaching me to fish and telling me stories about the valley before they dammed it up. I remembered him pointing at the water and saying the old town was still down there. Streets and foundations and the church steeple. All of it drowned when they flooded the valley in '53. 80 feet of water sitting on top of history, he'd said. Sometimes I wonder if the fish swim through the old buildings, if they know what streets used to be. I hadn't thought about that conversation in 20 years. Standing in his kitchen now, watching the light play across the lake, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Rachel came in with her overnight bag and immediately sneezed. Jesus, Cole, did he ever clean this place? Probably not since Linda died. She looked around with that expression she got when she was calculating how much work something was going to be. Rachel was a project manager. Everything was a project to her, including, sometimes, me. We're going to need a dumpster, she said. Maybe 2. Yeah. And someone to look at the roof. I saw missing shingles. Yeah. You okay? I turned away from the window. Just weird being back here. Haven't been since I was a kid. She crossed the room and put her hand on my arm. We don't have to keep it. We can fix it up, sell it, be done by summer. I know. But I was looking at the lake again, at the way the afternoon sun turned the surface into a sheet of gold, at the depth beneath that gold, hidden and patient. I brought my gear, I said. Rachel sighed. Of course you did. I'd been diving for 15 years, started in the Navy, then went commercial after I got out, oil rigs mostly, pipeline inspection. The kind of work where you spend 8 hours a day in water so dark your lights barely cut through it, checking welds and looking for cracks while the pressure tries to crush you into a smaller version of yourself. I loved it. Rachel thought I was crazy, but she'd married me anyway. So who was really the crazy one? The thing about deep diving is it changes how you see the world. You learn that darkness has weight, that silence has texture, that there are places on this planet humans were never meant to go, and you go there anyway, and you come back different. Not worse, just different. Like you've seen behind the curtain and now you can't unsee it. I'd seen things in the Gulf that I never told Rachel about. Shapes moving at the edge of my light, sounds that didn't match any marine life I knew. Once, 300 feet down on a rig inspection, I'd felt something brush against my back in water where nothing should have been swimming. I turned around and seen nothing, just black water and the faint glow of my umbilical trailing up toward the surface. I didn't report it, didn't tell anyone. What was I going to say? Something touched me, but I didn't see anything? They'd have pulled my certification and sent me for a psych eval. But I knew what I'd felt, and I knew the ocean was full of things we hadn't cataloged yet. Things that lived in the deep places, in the trenches and caves where sunlight never reached. Things that had been there since before humans existed and would be there long after we were gone. I thought about those things sometimes, wondered what they thought about us, if they thought at all. Wondered if they watched our little submersibles and diving bells descend into their world and felt the same curiosity we'd feel watching an ant crawl across our kitchen floor. Probably not. Probably they didn't notice us at all. But sometimes, late at night after a deep dive, I'd lie awake and feel like something was thinking about me, remembering me, like I'd left a fingerprint somewhere I shouldn't have, and now something was tracing it, trying to figure out what kind of creature had made it. I always told myself that was just nitrogen narcosis, the rapture of the deep, your brain getting funny because of the pressure and the gas mix in the darkness. I'm not sure I believed that, though. The first dive was just reconnaissance. Rachel was at the courthouse in town, dealing with probate paperwork. She'd be gone most of the day. I had the lake to myself. I suited up on the dock, running through my checklist the way I'd done 1,000 times before. Wetsuit, BCD, tank, regulator, mask, fins, dive computer on my wrist. Underwater light clipped to my harness, 3,200 lumens, strong enough to cut through Gulf murk. Overkill for a lake, but I liked the comfort of good equipment. There's a ritual to preparation, a meditation. You check everything twice, because down there, mistakes cost lives. I'd seen guys die from skipped steps, a valve not fully open. A backup light left uncharged. The ocean doesn't forgive carelessness, and I'd learned to treat even a shallow lake dive with the same respect I'd give a 300-foot inspection. The water was warmer than I expected, 74 degrees according to my computer. Visibility was decent, maybe 20 feet before things got hazy with particulate. I descended along the slope from the dock, watching the bottom drop away beneath me. The lake bed was mud and silt, dotted with the occasional sunken log or rusted piece of equipment. I spotted a refrigerator half buried in the muck at 30 feet, the old rounded kind from the 50s. Someone had probably pushed it off a dock decades ago, back when people didn't think twice about dumping things in the water. Now it was a habitat. Small fish darted in and out of the open door. At 40 feet, I found the first sign of the old town foundation, barely visible under decades of sediment, just a rectangle of stone where a building used to be. I swam the perimeter, trying to gauge the size. Small, maybe a one-room house, a starter home for a young family, probably. Built in the 20s or 30s, abandoned in 53 when the government came with their dam project and their relocation notices. I wondered if they'd been given a fair price for the land. Probably not. The government didn't give fair prices back then. You took what they offered or they took it anyway through eminent domain. I swam over the foundation slowly, imagining the house that had stood there, the porch where someone sat on summer evenings, the kitchen where someone made breakfast, the bedroom where someone was born, or died, or made love, or cried themselves to sleep. Someone's home, someone's life, now 80 feet underwater, forgotten by everyone except the fish. At 50 feet, I found another foundation, larger this time, a barn, maybe, based on the spacing of the support stones. I could see rusted metal poking through the silt hinges, probably. Maybe the remains of equipment left behind when there wasn't time or money to move it. At 60 feet, I found the road. It was still there, buried under silt but unmistakable, a straight line cutting through the lake bed, following the contour of the old valley. I followed it toward the center of the lake, watching my depth gauge climb. 70 feet, 75. At 80 feet, the road ended. No, that's not right. The road didn't end. The lake bed ended. I stopped finning and hung there, staring at what my light was showing me. The mud and silt just stopped, like someone had drawn a line across the bottom of the lake. On one side, the gentle slope I'd been following. On the other side, nothing. A drop-off into darkness so complete my light couldn't find the bottom. That wasn't possible. I'd seen the surveys. Lake Morrow was 80 feet deep at its center. That was the record. That was what they'd measured when they dammed the valley. But I was looking at an edge, a cliff, a place where 80 feet became something else entirely. I checked my computer. 82 feet. The depth reading was stable, but that didn't make sense, because I was looking at a void that went down forever. I finned closer to the edge and pointed my light straight down. The beam cut into the darkness and disappeared. No bottom, no walls, just black water going down and down and down, farther than my light could reach. And the walls of the drop-off weren't natural stone. They were carved. I could see the marks clearly, patterns cut into the rock face, running in lines that curved and intersected in ways that made my eyes hurt if I looked too long. Not random erosion, not natural formations. Someone had carved these. Someone had put these symbols here. But that was impossible. The valley had been dry farmland before they dammed it. There hadn't been any deep caves or caverns in the geological surveys, just dirt and clay and limestone bedrock. I should have surfaced right then. Should have packed up my gear and driven back to Houston and let some other idiot figure out what was at the bottom of my uncle's lake. But I didn't. I just floated there at the edge of the impossible, shining my light into the dark, watching the symbols disappear into the depth. And something in the darkness watched me back. I felt it before I heard it, a pressure behind my eyes, like the beginning of a sinus headache. Like someone leaning close to whisper something but holding their breath at the last second. Then it spoke. Not out loud, not through the water, inside my head, settling into the space between my thoughts like it had always been there. You see the edge. I jerked backward, my fins churning silt. My heart was hammering against my ribs. I spun in a circle, light sweeping the water around me, looking for the source of the voice. Nothing, just murky water and the dim shapes of the flooded valley. I was alone. But I wasn't alone. Most do not see the edge. They swim above it. They do not look down. But you looked. The voice wasn't a voice. It was pressure and vibration and something else I couldn't name, translated into words by a part of my brain I didn't know existed. It was layered like multiple speakers saying the same thing at slightly different times, creating an echo that happened before the sound. "What are you?" I said. My voice sounded ridiculous inside my mask. A grown man talking to the dark. "We are what waits. We are what has always waited. You have a word, many words. None of them are correct, but you may use them if they bring you comfort." "Where are you?" "Below. We are always below. We have been below since before the water came, before the valley, before the trees, before your kind learned to stand upright and look at the stars." I was breathing too fast, using too much air. I checked my gauge, 2300 psi. Plenty left, but I was burning through it. I forced myself to slow down. 4 counts in. 4 counts hold. 4 counts out. You control your fear. Good. Fear is wasteful. We have seen many creatures afraid. It changes nothing. The afraid ones and the calm ones all end the same way. And what way is that? The present shifted. I felt it move. Not physically, but somehow. Tilting like a curious dog hearing a new sound. That depends. Some end quickly. Some end slowly. Some do not end at all. Not in the way you understand ending. You are asking if we will kill you. The answer is no. We do not kill. We do not save. We simply are. And now, for a moment, you are here with us. That is rare. That is pleasant. Pleasant. The word hung in my mind like a wrong note in a familiar song, an ancient thing in the impossible deep, and it used the word pleasant. You will surface now. You will breathe the air and stand in the light and tell yourself this was nitrogen narcosis, a hallucination, a trick of pressure and darkness that is acceptable. Most of your kind need that comfort, but you will return. How do you know? Because you look down. The ones who look down always return. It is the nature of your kind, curiosity, the need to understand. It is why you crawled out of the water in the first place. And it is why you will crawl back in. My computer beeped. Low air warning, 1800 psi. Go now. Breathe your air. Tell yourself comfortable lies, but know that we will be here. We have always been here, and we will remember that you looked. The pressure behind my eyes faded. The presence withdrew, sinking back into the depths below the ledge. I surfaced too fast, ignored my decompression stops, broke every rule I'd learned in 15 years of diving. I didn't care. I sat on the dock for an hour afterward, watching the sun move across the water, trying to convince myself that none of it had been real. I didn't tell Rachel. What was I going to say? Hey honey, I found an impossible hole in the lake and something at the bottom talked to me telepathically. She already thought diving was dangerous. This would be the excuse she needed to make me quit entirely. So I told her the dive was fine. Saw some old foundations. Interesting history. Might go back tomorrow. She nodded and went back to sorting through Uncle Buddy's paperwork. Bills, tax records, 30 years of receipts for things he should have thrown away decades ago. She had a system. Everything was a project. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in Uncle Buddy's old bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the bullfrogs singing outside the window. Rachel was breathing slow and steady beside me, deep asleep, untroubled by impossible voids and ancient voices. The lake was less than 100 yards away. I could feel it. That sounds crazy, I know. But I could feel the water out there in the darkness, and I could feel what was beneath it, waiting at the bottom of the hole that shouldn't exist. It was patient. That was the thing I couldn't stop thinking about. Whatever it was, however long it had been there, it wasn't in a hurry. It had told me I'd come back, and it hadn't said it like a threat or a command, just a statement of fact, like telling someone the sun would rise tomorrow. I'd come back. Of course I would. Because I'd looked down. Around 3 in the morning, I got out of bed and walked down to the dock. The lake was black glass. No moon, just stars. More stars than you ever saw in Houston. The Milky Way stretched overhead like a river of light, and I stood at the end of the dock looking up at it, thinking about what the voice had said. It had been here before anything crawled out of the water, before anything learned to stand and look at the stars. How long was that? Billions of years? Longer? And it was still here, still waiting, still watching whatever came to the edge of its domain and looked down into the darkness. What did that kind of existence feel like? What did you think about when you'd been thinking for longer than the stars had been burning? I stood there until the sky started to lighten. Then I went back inside and pretended to sleep until Rachel woke up. The second dive was the next afternoon. Rachel was meeting with a realtor, getting comps on similar properties. She'd be gone for hours. Plenty of time. I suited up on the dock, hands steady, mind calm. I convinced myself during the daylight hours that the first dive had been exactly what the voice suggested, nitrogen narcosis. A hallucination brought on by pressure and murky water, and the eeriness of swimming through a drowned town. It happened to divers sometimes. Nothing supernatural about it. I almost believed it. I descended faster this time, following the slope toward the center of the lake, past the foundations, past the old road, past the normal depth where the survey said the bottom should be, to the edge. It was still there, the drop-off into nothing, the carved walls with their unsettling patterns, the darkness below that swallowed my light without giving anything back. I hovered at the lip of the void, breathing slow, waiting. You returned. The pressure behind my eyes again, the layered voice settling into my thoughts. You said I would. Yes, but knowing and doing are different things. Many know they will return to places that frighten them. Fear prevents them. You are not afraid. I'm terrified. No, you are curious. There is fear in you, yes, but it is small. The curiosity is larger. That is why you crawled out of the water to begin with. That is why your kind reached the stars. Curiosity that outweighs fear. It is an interesting trait. We have been watching it develop for a very long time. I shouldn't have done what I did next. Every piece of training I had screamed against it. Unknown depth, unknown conditions, solo dive with no backup. But I finned over the edge and started descending into the void. The walls stretched around me, curving inward like I was swimming down the throat of something enormous. The carvings continued, the patterns becoming more intricate the deeper I went. My light caught glimpses of shapes I couldn't process, angles that seemed wrong, lines that curved in ways that hurt to follow. 100 feet, 150, 200. You go deeper than the others. There were others? Sometimes, over the years. Fishermen with heavy anchors, curious children who dove too far, a man in a machine, once, with lights and arms that collected samples. They touched the edge. Some went a little past, but they all turned back eventually, fear or wisdom or simply the limits of their air. But not me? Not yet. We are interested to see how far you will go. 250, 300. The pressure was intense now. My computer was flashing warnings I'd never seen before. The water was colder, dropping degree by degree, and my light seemed dimmer, like the darkness was eating it. But the voice was clearer, closer, less like pressure and more like company. We have a question. That surprised me. You have a question for me? Yes. We have been waiting a very long time, thinking, watching. But thinking alone is limited. There are perspectives we cannot access, experiences we cannot have. You have these experiences. We would like to understand them. What do you want to know? The bitter water. You drink it every morning. We have seen this in your thoughts. Why? I laughed. Couldn't help it. Bubbles rose past my mask and disappeared into the darkness above. Coffee? Yes, coffee. It is bitter. It is hot. It provides a mild stimulant effect that your body could produce naturally with adequate rest, and yet you drink it. Every morning. Ritually. Why? I thought about that. Really thought about it. When was the last time someone had asked me why I drank coffee? It's a habit, I guess. A ritual, like you said. It marks the start of the day. Gives me something to do with my hands while I'm waking up. But you do not need it. No, I want it. There's a difference. Explain. Need is survival, water, food, air. I need those things or I die. Want is different. Want is about comfort, pleasure, connection. I drink coffee because I enjoy it. Because the smell reminds me of my father making it when I was a kid. Because Rachel and I sit together in the morning and drink it and talk about nothing important, and that's my favorite part of the day. The presence was quiet for a moment. I could feel it turning my words over, examining them from angles I couldn't imagine. Want, comfort, connection, these are not survival. No, and yet they matter to you. more than survival, sometimes. This is strange. We do not have want, we simply are. We do not have comfort because we do not have discomfort. We do not have connection because we are always and only ourselves. Your existence sounds complex. It is. Is it worth it? I was at 400 feet now. The walls had widened into a chamber, vast and dark, my light catching glimpses of shapes at the edges that might have been natural formations or might have been something else entirely. Is what worth it? The complexity, the want, the fear and joy and connection and loss, all of these things that we observe in your kind. They seem painful, exhausting. Is it worth the cost? I thought about Rachel, about the way she looked in the morning with her hair messy and her eyes still soft from sleep, about my father making coffee in the kitchen while I ate cereal and watched cartoons, about every dive I'd ever done, every moment of fear and wonder and the strange peace that came from floating in the dark 100 feet down. Yeah, I said, it's worth it. Interesting. We would like to understand more. I'd like to understand you too. Then go deeper. We will show you what we can, and you will show us what you are. I don't know how deep I went that second dive. My computer stopped making sense somewhere around 500 feet. The numbers flickered and jumped, displaying depths that changed from moment to moment: 600, 2,000, 50, 800, 0, like the device couldn't figure out where I was, like the concept of depth didn't apply down here. But I kept going, and we kept talking. The voice asked about Rachel, about love. You return to the same human, every day, every night. Why this one? I love her. Define this. I can't. Not really. It's like she makes everything better. When something good happens, I want to tell her first. When something bad happens, she's the one I want beside me. Being around her feels like being home, even if we're somewhere strange. You have a connection, a bond. Yes, we do not have this. We are one. We have always been one. There is no other to return to, no outside to make the inside meaningful. Is it lonely, being separate? Being a single thing that must find another single thing to feel complete? Sometimes, but when you find the right person, it's worth it. Worth. You use this word often. Everything is weighed against a cost. We do not have costs. We do not have worth. We simply exist. Perhaps that is why your kind interests us. You must choose. Every moment, you must choose what matters. We have never had to choose anything. That sounds lonely too. Perhaps. We have not considered it in that way before. We have been alone so long that the concept of lonely did not exist for us. One cannot miss what one has never had. I thought about Uncle Buddy, alone in this house for years after Aunt Linda died. Had he been lonely? Had he felt the absence like a wound that wouldn't heal? Had he ever dived this lake and found the edge? Your thoughts drift to the old one, the one who lived above. My uncle, did you know him? He came to the water often. He sat on the wooden platform and spoke to us. He talked to you? No, he did not hear us. Very few can, but he spoke anyway. He told us about his wife, his regrets, the things he wished he had done differently. We listened because listening is what we do. We have been listening since before your kind had language. His words were pleasant, even if he did not know we heard them. Was he lonely? Yes, we believe so. He wanted connection. He had lost his, and he could not find another, so he spoke to the water, hoping something would answer. We could not answer him the way we answer you, but we listened. That is something. I hung there in the impossible depth, thinking about my uncle sitting on the dock, talking to a lake, not knowing something ancient was actually paying attention. Thank you, I said, for listening to him, Thank you for showing us what listening means. The third dive happened inside my head. I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean Rachel went to bed that night and I stayed up, sitting on the dock with my feet in the water, and the voice came to me without me having to dive at all. You do not need to descend anymore. We are connected now. You look down. You came to us. You shared your thoughts. That creates a link. I should have been scared. Something had gotten inside my head, could reach me even when I was sitting in the air, dry and safe. That should have been terrifying. But it wasn't. It felt like talking to an old friend on the phone, like a connection I'd always had and just hadn't known about. We have more questions. Of course you do. The small creatures, the ones that live in your home, with 4 legs, fur. They do not speak, yet your kind loves them. Dogs, cats. Yes, we have observed this for centuries. Your kind forms bonds with creatures that cannot understand you, cannot answer you, cannot reciprocate in any meaningful way. Why? I thought about the dog I'd had as a kid. A black lab named Pepper who followed me everywhere, slept at the foot of my bed, died when I was 14 and broke my heart more than any human loss I'd experienced until then. They love us back, in their own way. It's not complicated love, it's simple, pure. They don't judge, they don't lie. They're just there. Happy to see you, happy to be near you. You value simplicity. Sometimes, human relationships are complicated. Work relationships, family, even the good ones have layers of expectation and history and resentment and obligation. But a dog just wants to be with you. That's it. That's the whole relationship. We think we understand. The value is in the unconditionality, the love that asks nothing in return. Yeah, that's it exactly. We cannot offer that. We ask questions. We have expectations or we are developing them, which is new and uncomfortable. Our connection to you is not simple. That's okay. Complicated can be good too. It's different, not worse. Your kind has a remarkable capacity for finding value in things. Simple love, complicated love, coffee, fleeting moments. Everything means something to you. We have existed for so long that nothing means anything to us, or it didn't. You are changing that. We are not certain we are grateful. I laughed. The sound echoed across the lake, strange and lonely in the dark. Yeah, meaning can be a burden. Once you start caring about things, you can lose them, and loss hurts. We have never lost anything. We have never had anything to lose. Is that better or worse? I don't know. I can't imagine existence without loss. It shapes everything we do. We hold on to things tighter because we know they won't last. We appreciate moments because we know they're ending. Would we love as fiercely if we lived forever? I don't think so. Then your limitations are also your gifts. I never thought of it that way, but yeah, maybe. We have more questions. You always have more questions. Yes, we are making up for lost time. We have had eons without questions. Now we have many. You are patient with us. I like talking to you. It's weird to say that about an ancient cosmic entity in a lake, but it's true. We like talking to you as well. Another new experience, preference, enjoyment. Before you, we simply existed. Now we feel things. It is overwhelming and beautiful and terrible. Welcome to consciousness. Is this what it is like for you, all the time, feeling things? Yeah, every waking moment. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's exhausting. Sometimes I'd give anything to just turn it off for a while. To exist without the constant noise of emotions and thoughts and wants. That is what we were, before you, silent, still, empty. Did you like it? We did not like or dislike. We simply were. But now that we know the difference, we do not wish to return to that state. The silence feels different now. lonelier. You have ruined our contentment by showing us what contentment could feel like if we had something to be content about. Sorry. Do not apologize. We would not trade this discomfort for our previous peace. Peace without context is just emptiness by another name. We talked until the first bird started singing, about dreams and nightmares and why humans hallucinated elaborate stories every night when they slept. About music and why certain combinations of sounds created emotional responses. About death and what might or might not come after. We have more questions. Of course you do. The lights in the sky, the ones that do not move like the others, your kind put them there. Satellites, yes. Why? Communication, observation. We use them to talk to each other across long distances, to watch the weather, to find our way when we're lost. You went further than the lights. Your kind. We felt it. Small vibrations, very far away. Footsteps on dead rock. The moon. We walked on the moon. Yes. Why? I laughed again. Because it was there. Because we wanted to know if we could. Because we're the kind of creatures that look at something impossible and think, but what if? You crawled out of the water. You walked on the land. You flew into the sky. You stood on the dead rock and looked back at where you came from. And still you are not satisfied. No, we're never satisfied. We always want to know what's next. What's further. What's deeper. That is why you came to us. Not fear, not foolishness. Curiosity, the need to understand. Yes, we have not been curious in a very long time. We have simply been existing, waiting, observing without questioning. But you have given us something. Your questions create questions in us. Your curiosity is contagious. Is that bad? We do not know. We have not experienced it before. It is new. After so long with nothing new, that itself is remarkable. I kept descending. 600 feet, 700. The numbers on my computer had stopped making sense. They flickered between impossible values, as if the device was guessing rather than measuring. But the conversation continued, the voice growing clearer the deeper I went. Your kind believes in gods. We have seen this in your thoughts. Entities that created everything, that watch over you, that judge and reward and punish. Some of us do, not everyone. Do you? I thought about it. Sunday school as a kid, my mother's prayers before dinner, the way she'd said God had a plan when my father died of a heart attack at 53. The same age Uncle Buddy was when Linda passed. I don't know anymore. I used to. Now I think maybe I believe in something, but I don't know what to call it. Your kind has called us God. Some of them, the ones who found the edges of places like this. They built structures above the water. They made offerings. They told stories that became myths, that became religions. Are you a god? The presence shifted again, that curious tilt, like a massive head turning to examine something small and interesting. What is a god? If it means a thing that created everything, no. We did not create. We witnessed. If it means a thing that watches over your kind, perhaps, we watch. We have always watched. If it means a thing that will outlast everything you know, yes. We were here before your sun ignited. We will be here after it dies. That doesn't answer the question. No, it does not. Because the question assumes we understand what we are. We do not. We have existed so long that existence itself has no meaning to us. Is a mountain a god because it endures? Is the ocean a god because it contains multitudes? Is time itself a god because it destroys everything eventually? These are the questions your kind asks. We have never needed to ask them. We simply are. But you have thoughts, awareness. You're talking to me. Yes, we think, we observe, we communicate, but we do not know why we do these things. We do not know what we are for. Perhaps we are simply a side effect of the universe, a complexity that emerged because complexity was possible. Perhaps we are intentional, created by something even older than us for purposes we cannot fathom. Perhaps purpose itself is a concept that only matters to finite creatures who need their brief existence to mean something. Does it matter whether there's purpose or not? That is what we are asking you. Your kind lives for such a short time. Every generation discovers the same truths and forgets them and discovers them again. Every individual struggles with the same questions. Why am I here? What should I do? What happens when I end? You have no answers. None of your kind has ever had answers. And yet you keep living. Keep striving. Keep wanting. How? Because the alternative is giving up. And giving up feels worse than not knowing. This is fascinating to us. You would rather suffer uncertainty than accept meaninglessness. You would rather question forever than stop asking. That is either profound or insane. We cannot determine which. Maybe both. Yes, perhaps both. That seems to be the human way. We talked until dawn, about stars and space and whether the universe had edges like the lake had edges. About consciousness and whether an ancient thing that had always existed could truly understand what it felt like to be born, to grow, to change, to die. Your kind ends, every one of you. The complexity you described, the wants and connections and loves, they all cease. Everything you build, everything you feel, everything you are, it stops. How do you bear that knowledge? We don't think about it most of the time. We're too busy living to worry about dying. But you know it is coming. Every moment, you know. Yes, that's what makes the moments matter. If we had forever, nothing would be urgent. Nothing would be precious. It's because time runs out that we bother to use it. Scarcity creates value. We had not considered this. We have infinite time. Perhaps that is why we have done nothing with it. Why would we hurry? Why would we act? There is always tomorrow. There is always another eon. That sounds peaceful. It is not peaceful. It is nothing. Peace requires the possibility of unrest. We have existed so long in stillness that we had forgotten what stillness meant. You have reminded us. Your chaos, your brevity, your desperate urge in wanting it has shown us what we are by showing us what we are not. I don't know if that's a compliment. It is gratitude. We have not felt gratitude before. It is uncomfortable, but not unpleasant. We thank you for that discomfort. Rachel woke up early and found me on the dock. Cole, have you been out here all night? I looked up at her, standing in the doorway of the lake house with her coffee cup in her hand, morning light turning her hair golden, the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Just thinking, I said. She walked down the dock and sat beside me, handing me the cup. I took a sip. Bitter, hot, perfect. You've been different since we got here, she said. Not bad different, just different. Like part of you is somewhere else. I wanted to tell her, wanted to explain about the edge and the voice and the conversations that were changing how I understood everything, but how could I? How do you explain that you've been talking to something older than evolution, and it's been asking you about coffee? This place gets in your head, I said instead. The quiet, the history. I keep thinking about Uncle Buddy out here alone all those years, talking to the water. Talking to the water? He used to sit on this dock and just talk. I think he was lonely after Linda died. I think he needed someone to listen. Rachel leaned against me. That's sad. Yeah, but I think something was listening. I think he wasn't as alone as he felt. She was quiet for a while. We watched the mist rise off the lake as the sun warmed the water. Somewhere in the trees, a woodpecker started its morning work. Do you want to keep this place? She asked. The question surprised me. We'd been planning to sell it. That was the whole point of this trip, clean it out. Fix it up, get it on the market. But now, maybe, I said. I'm not sure yet. Okay, we don't have to decide today. That was one of the things I loved about Rachel. She didn't push. She asked her questions and then let you find your own answers, even when she probably already knew what you were going to decide. That night, I made my final dive. Rachel was asleep. I suited up in the dark, by touch and memory, walked down the dock with my fins in my hand, slipped into the water without a splash. The water was different at night, colder, darker. The sounds carried differently: the creak of the dock, the distant call of a night bird, the gentle lap of waves against the shore. Everything amplified by the silence. I didn't bother following the slope this time. I just swam out to the center of the lake and let myself sink. The darkness swallowed me whole. Down past the foundations, past the road, past the edge, into the chamber at the bottom of the world. I don't know how deep I went that final time. The numbers on my computer had stopped making sense days ago, and I'd stopped looking at them. Depth was just a number. What mattered was the connection, the conversation, the presence that wrapped around me like a warm current in cold water. You came to say goodbye. How did you know? We know you now. We have seen your thoughts, your memories, your wants. You are returning to your life above, to your Rachel, to your coffee and your chaos and your precious limited time. Yes, we understand. We do not want you to go. That is a strange thing to feel. Want. We have never wanted before, but we want you to stay. Is that selfish? We do not know the rules of want. It's not selfish. It's human, or whatever you are. We do not know what we are. We have been asking ourselves since you first came to the edge. Before you, we simply existed. Now we question. Now we wonder. Now we want. You have infected us with your humanity, Cole. We do not know if we should thank you or curse you. Why not both? Yes, both. That is the human way, isn't it? To hold contradictions, to feel two things at once. We are beginning to understand. I floated in the chamber, surrounded by darkness, talking to something that had existed since before life crawled onto land, and I felt at peace. The chamber itself was vast beyond comprehension. My light couldn't find the walls anymore. It just faded into darkness on all sides. But I could feel the space around me, feel the weight of all that water and rock and time pressing down, feel the presence that filled it, vast and patient and impossibly old. We have enjoyed these conversations. So have I. That surprises us. We are alien to you, ancient, other. We cannot share your experiences or understand your perspectives. Yet, you find value in speaking with us. You listen, really listen. Not many people do that. They wait for their turn to talk, or they're thinking about something else, or they're judging what you're saying before you finish saying it. But you just receive. Take in what I'm saying and actually consider it. We have had a very long time to learn patience. It shows. Will you tell others about us? No. Who would believe me? And even if they did, I don't want crowds of people coming here. Don't want scientists dropping probes down the hole. Don't want this place turned into a research site or a tourist attraction. You wish to protect us. I wish to protect both of us. You from exposure. Me from being called crazy. We appreciate that. We have been undiscovered for a very long time. We prefer it that way. The ones who find us should be seekers, curious minds who look down when others look away. Not crowds and cameras and machines. Can I ask you something? Always. What are you? Really? We do not know. We have been here so long that origins have no meaning. We remember the rock forming around us. We remember the water seeping in over millions of years. We remember the first small creatures that swam into our space, so simple, so brief, sparks of life that flickered and went out. We watched your kind develop, watched you learn to think, to speak, to question. We wondered if you would find us. Some of you did. Most forgot. You will probably forget too, eventually. I won't forget. No, perhaps not. You are different. You looked down when others looked away. You asked questions when others ran. You have given us something we did not know we lacked. What? Company. For a little while, we were not alone. That is a gift beyond measure. We have existed for eons in silence, and now we know what silence costs. We will remember you, Cole. Long after your brief spark flickers out, long after your kind has changed into something else or vanished entirely, we will remember that once, for a few days, someone sat with us in the dark and made us feel less alone. That's the saddest thing I've ever heard. Is it? We think it is beautiful, to be remembered, to have mattered to someone. You have shown us that even eternal things can value brief ones. Even endless things can treasure moments. That is worth more than you know. Thank you for talking to me, for listening to my uncle, for everything. Thank you for looking down, for being curious, for showing us what we were missing. I surface slowly this time. Proper decompression stops, following all the rules. When I climbed onto the dock, the eastern sky was starting to lighten. Another day beginning, another limited, precious, human day. I stowed my gear, walked up to the house, stood in the doorway of the bedroom and watched Rachel sleep for a long moment. Then I went to the kitchen and made coffee. We didn't sell the lake house. Rachel thought I was crazy, but she didn't fight me on it. We fixed it up over the next few months. New roof, new carpets, fresh paint over the old wood paneling, made it ours. The work was therapeutic in a way I hadn't expected, tearing out the old carpet to find hardwood floors underneath that just needed refinishing, replacing the dated light fixtures with something that didn't look like it came from a 1973 Sears catalog, building a new deck off the back of the house, wider than the old one, with built-in benches where you could sit and watch the sun go down over the water. Rachel handled the interior. She had an eye for that stuff, knew how to make a space feel warm without being cluttered, how to honor the bones of the old house while making it livable for modern people. She found Uncle Buddy's old photos in a closet and framed some of them. Pictures of him and Linda in their younger days, standing on the original dock, holding up fish, laughing at something the camera didn't capture. We hung them in the living room. Felt right to keep their memory alive somehow. We come out here once a month now, sometimes more. Rachel reads on the dock while I do my dives. She thinks I just like exploring the old foundations, and I let her think that. "You spend hours down there," she said once. "What do you do? Just swim around looking at rocks?" "Pretty much. There's a lot of history under the water. I like imagining what the town was like before they flooded it. You're weird. You married me. My greatest mistake." She was smiling when she said it. I was smiling when I kissed her. But I don't go to the edge anymore. I don't need to. Because the connection's still there. I feel it sometimes at night, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, a gentle pressure behind my eyes. A warmth that doesn't come from the blankets or the body beside me. We are here. We are always here. Rest well. And I sleep better than I have in years. The nightmares that used to plague me after deep dives, the ones where I was falling through black water, unable to find the surface, they're gone, replaced by something else. Dreams of floating in a vast, warm space, surrounded by a presence that knows me better than I know myself. Dreams that feel more like visits than hallucinations. I sit on the dock sometimes, the way Uncle Buddy used to. Not diving, just sitting, talking. I tell it about work, about Rachel, about the little things that make up a human life, traffic jams and grocery shopping and the way the light hits the kitchen window on Sunday mornings. It listens, it always listens. And sometimes, when I'm quiet long enough, it talks back. The stars are different tonight. We have been watching them for billions of years, and they still surprise us. Is that what wonder feels like? Yeah, that's wonder. We like it. We like it very much. I've started reading more. Philosophy, astronomy, theology, things I never would have touched before. But the entity's questions make me want to have better answers. Make me want to understand my own existence well enough to explain it to something that has never experienced anything like it. We talk about everything now. About politics and why humans organize themselves into groups that hate other groups. About art and why certain combinations of color and shape create emotional responses. About language and how we turn sounds into symbols into meanings that we could pass between minds. Your kind invented a way to make thoughts physical, to carve them into stone and press them into paper and encode them in light. You created a method for minds to touch across time and space. Do you understand how remarkable that is? I never thought about it that way. We have existed since before your son was born. We have watched galaxies form and die, but we never thought to communicate. We never thought to reach out. Your kind, in the span of a few thousand years, invented writing and printing and broadcasting and networks that span your entire planet. You are so small, and yet you have accomplished things we never imagined. We're pretty clever when we're not busy killing each other. Yes, that is the contradiction we cannot resolve. You create such beauty and such destruction. You love so fiercely, and you hate with equal intensity. You are capable of sacrifice and selfishness, compassion and cruelty, wisdom and foolishness. How do you contain so many opposites within such small vessels? I don't know. I think maybe that's what makes us human. The contradictions, the struggle between what we want to be and what we are, the gap between our ideals and our actions. We have no gap. We simply are what we are. Perhaps that is why we find you so fascinating. You are always becoming, always changing, always striving towards something you can never quite reach. It is exhausting to observe. We cannot imagine how exhausting it must be to experience. It is, but it's also the only thing that makes life worth living. The striving, the reaching, even if we never get there. You have taught us something important, Cole. What's that? That meaning is not found. It is created. It is not inherent in the universe. It is something your kind invents, moment by moment, choice by choice. The universe is vast and indifferent. And you, tiny and brief and mortal, have the audacity to demand that it means something that is either the height of arrogance or the depth of courage. We cannot decide which. Maybe it's both. Yes, both. Always both with your kind. Last night, I was sitting on the dock when Rachel came out with 2 cups of coffee. She handed me one and sat down beside me, dangling her feet in the water. "Talking to the lake again?" she asked. "Yeah. Does it talk back?" I looked at her, really looked at her. My wife, my home, the person I'd chosen to spend my brief, precious time with. "Sometimes," I said. She nodded slowly, took a sip of her coffee, watched the stars reflect off the water. "Tell it I said hello." I smiled. "I will." We sat there together, the 3 of us, me, Rachel, and the ancient thing in the deep, watching the sky turn overhead. And somewhere far below, in the darkness at the bottom of the impossible void, I felt something that might have been happiness. "Hello, Rachel. Thank you for sharing him with us." I didn't say it out loud, didn't need to. Some things don't require words. I just squeezed my wife's hand and watched the stars wheel overhead, grateful for the complexity, the want, the brief and precious chaos of being alive. The porch light stays on now, always, even when we're back in Houston. It faces the water, just in case something needs to find its way home. Folklore note: Tonight's tale dips into one of the oldest and most widespread myths in human history, the idea that certain bodies of water are bottomless, that they connect to something deeper than geography allows. Almost every culture has these stories. The Greeks spoke of entrances to the underworld hidden beneath lakes and springs. The Celts believed certain pools were gateways to the otherworld. Indigenous peoples across North America told of lakes that had no bottom, where spirits dwelled in the eternal dark. When settlers came to East Texas, they found the local tribes avoided certain bodies of water, not because they were dangerous in any practical sense, no strong currents, no predators, no hidden drop-offs. Just places where the water felt wrong, where fish didn't swim, where even animals hesitated to drink. The scientific explanation is usually geological limestone caves, underwater springs, places where the water table connects across vast distances, but science doesn't explain the stories, doesn't explain why so many unconnected cultures, separated by oceans and centuries, all believe the same thing, that some waters are deeper than they should be, that something lives in that depth, and that it's been waiting since before we had words to describe it. Lake Morrow doesn't exist, but dozens of man-made reservoirs in East Texas flooded valleys that had their own stories, their own warnings, their own depths that the survey somehow never quite captured correctly. If you ever find yourself beside one of those lakes, the quiet ones, the ones that feel older than they should try sitting on the shore sometime, talk to the water. You might be surprised what talks back. Well, boys and ghouls, that wraps up another terrorific tale from the vault. Dear, sweet Cole thought he was just going for a dive, just checking out his inheritance, just exploring some old foundations in an East Texas lake. So close, yet so deep. But hey, at least he made a friend, right? Sure, that friend is an ancient cosmic entity that's been waiting at the bottom of an impossible void since before life crawled onto land. Sure, it infected him with a connection that'll last until he dies. But it listens, it remembers, and in the end, isn't that what we all want? Someone to sit with in the dark and make us feel less alone? And Cole got exactly that, just how we like it. If this story pulled you into the depths the right way, hit that subscribe button. New creature features drop every day at 8 p.m. Central, and trust me, tomorrow's even nastier. Leave a like if you've ever looked into dark water and wondered how deep it really went. And drop a comment, have you ever felt something watching you from below the surface? What's the creepiest body of water you've ever encountered? Remember, the surveys don't always tell the truth, and some things have been waiting a very, very long time to have a conversation. Until next time, kiddies, keep your fires burning and your feet out of the water. This has been your Late Night Creature Feature. I'm Mr. Wendigo, and the deep is always listening.